Hi, everybody, and welcome to the Friday edition of Moohead Radio. I'm your host, a hairless bovine. We want to wish Michelle, my co-host, the very best. She's recuperating from multiple surgeries, back surgery, etc., in a hospital somewhere in California. And I have been talking with her. There were some complications after her surgery. She is resting comfortably on Dilaudid. Nothing quite like pain meds. But everybody, keep her in your thoughts, please. And if you're so, I don't do the prayer thing. I'm not a prayer circle kind of guy, but keep her in your thoughts, please. And wish her well. And I'll be keeping in touch with her. The earliest she can be released, it appears, is Monday. We will see how it all goes down. Not that there's a whole hell of a lot to talk about today, but I'm willing to try. First of all, I wanted to talk about Josh Gordon and all these revelations that are coming out of his mouth about his sordid past. I think that he's the one who killed the notorious B.I.G. I think he killed Biggie. I think Tupac. Yeah, I think. Yeah, and he was a gangster for Suge Knight in the glory days of rap music. And the truth of the matter is, I really don't give a fuck about Josh Gordon. The Browns have put themselves in a position where, unfortunately, they have to give a fuck about him because they have no talent. And so they have to give him a chance. And there's no downside for a team that's for everything. But this, again, is the fodder of laughing stock material, because damn well there's a massive chance that he is going to fall back into the abyss. Hey, Ziffles, how you doing? He's going to fall into the abyss, and he's going to go back on drugs and alcohol. And when it happens, or if it happens, the Browns will be ridiculed because, well, they're the ones who keep getting duped by this guy. But of course, that's kind of a shallow way of looking at it. His whole life, he's duping himself. But be that as it may, like I said about Johnny Manziel, I'll say about Josh Gordon. I really don't give a fuck about football. I hope his life gets squared away, and I hope he's serious. I don't know what he's serious about. I think he's serious about getting a book deal. He wants to be a tell-all kind of guy. You got to remember, the generation that he's growing up in is the Kardashian generation. And I wish he'd just shut the fuck up and play football. But I'll give it a contrasting story, and that would be Tiger Woods, who was sitting tied for 5th place at the Hero World Championships of the Bahamas, his first golf in God knows how long. And, God only knows, Tiger's got all kinds of problems as well with the pain meds and with the sleeping medication and with God knows what else. But we haven't been hearing so much about that. Instead, he's back on the golf course, and he shot a 68 today. And that's where the focus should be. It should just be on doing the best you can do. The thing with Tiger is that a lot of his drug-induced problems were from back pain, and I don't know what psychic pain Josh Gordon suffers from, but he's right back in the middle of the problem that started the whole thing, which is hanging out with professional athletes who drink a lot. And in a sport where there is a lot of pain killing going on. And the reason that alcohol is prolific amongst players in the NFL is because their bodies hurt, and it is a central nervous system depressant. So I don't want to see Josh Gordon regress, but at the same time, the odds are against him. Just know that going in. It was interesting that Joe Thomas spoke out on the subject and said that the last time he tried to come back, it definitely hurt the Browns because Hoyer was really forced to throw the ball to him and try to force everything into him, and it just started a downward spiral for the then 7-4 Browns, and the season fell apart. And I think that Josh Gordon is the kind of guy who, if he's going to screw up, he's going to screw up real fast. His history has been when the light shines on him, that's when he chooses to screw up, because he has this self-detonating personality where he implodes himself when he's on the cusp of greatness. Ziffles is in the chat room trying to throw politics into the fray. Sorry, I don't talk about politics because we live in a totalitarian society, and I don't want to be crashed in on and taken out of my house. That's all I have to say about Josh Gordon. I mean, does it give Deshaun Kaiser a weapon? Well, it does. It's okay, Ziff. You know where I stand. Anybody who's watched the program for 13 years knows where I stand. And if you don't know where I stand on Donald Trump, I'd really like to stand with stiletto heels on his crotch. But there's no point in belaboring the obvious. I hope that it gives Deshaun Kaiser a better field to look at, but he's still got to get the ball out of his hand, and he's still got to get the ball to wherever it's going. Maybe it'll make Corey Coleman more effective as a number 2. I don't know. We're just going to have to wait and see, but don't count on the Browns doing anything. We do pick the games today, so that'll be the tail end of the show, and I'll try to make it quick and painless because, to be honest with you, I don't really give a fuck about football. I don't give a fuck about politics either, but I do care about other things. Nice to know that I lost my first game, by the way, Dallas crushing Washington. Why I would pick Washington, I don't know. Probably because I don't give a fuck about football. Let's talk about the Cleveland Cavaliers. Let's talk about that first. Iman Shumpert is gone for 2 months with a knee injury. And look, I can speak firsthand, and it was one of the reasons why I didn't want the Cavaliers to keep Iman Shumpert, because he is just Derrick Rose 2, the sequel. When the body falls apart, the body falls apart. And I do have a comical story to share with you. I played in my first singles national category 2 USTA tennis tournament today in over 10 years. I don't play singles because my knee is so bad. I lost the first round, but they also have a consolation round. And the consolation round happened the day after. Well, I shouldn't have played 2 days back to back. And I think I'm smart enough to know that. But, you know, I lost pretty badly in the first round against a real quality player. And I figured, I got enough to get thwacked again and be out of the tournament. Well, lo and behold, I fall behind 4-0 in the first set, and I come back and I win the match because I'm just a cow and I don't know when to quit. And in the process, I pulled 2 muscles in my left leg, and I'm sitting here with wrapped leg, and I'm icing my IT band. So I can speak firsthand about what it's like when the body breaks down. You know, a random listener can call in for today's picks. The link is above. Just if you click on the link, Ziff, if you want to jump in, you're more than welcome to. It's right above your Johnny Thunderpants post in the chat room on mooheadradio.com. Go over there and just click on the Hangouts link, and you'll be thrown into my studio. As long as you have a microphone, even if you don't want a camera to show you, you don't have to do that. As long as I can hear you, we can talk. See, isn't technology a wonderful thing? Iman Shumpert is like me, you see. I mean, you may have the best intentions, but when you go out and try to play at a certain tempo, you know, and for me, it was 4 hours of singles on back, 2 hours, back-to-back days. That was more than my body could handle. And so the body shuts you down. That's what's happening to Iman Shumpert. He's only 29 years of age or 28 years of age, whatever the hell he is, just like Rose. But when it's time, it's time. And the rigors of playing, I can play doubles in tennis, and it isn't so bad, right? But singles going from baseline to baseline, sideline to sideline, what's happened, it's my left leg that's weak because I was pushing off to go back and forth. The guy I was playing was a guy who didn't hit the ball hard, but he just kept hitting it from side to side to side to side. And it was really difficult to put demands on me that my body couldn't handle. Going up and down the floor in a basketball court is the least of it. It's the side to side cutting. It's the changes of direction. And Shumpert's knee just caved in. He's getting arthroscopic surgery 6 to 8 weeks out, and it couldn't really happen at a better time because, quite honestly, I don't want Derrick Rose and I don't want him on Shumpert. You know that. They're giving Jetty Osman an opportunity to get some minutes, and let him be a motor guy. Let him learn on the fly. He's youthful. He's going to make mistakes, but he's going to work hard. He's got a very high motor, and he's 22 years old, and he's not going to fall over in a heap. And we need to infuse some energy with a guy who's willing to run up and down the floor, play defense, give fouls, do whatever's necessary. If he gives us 10 minutes, 11 minutes a night like he did last night, then it is a real bonus for the Cleveland Cavaliers. And honestly, the 10th man in the rotation is going to be lucky to get that kind of time. It was interesting because the Cavaliers' winning streak coincides with a number of things. One of them is Channing Frye getting more playing time. And with Tristan Thompson only a week away, Channing Frye's minutes are going to diminish, even though he has earned playing time. The truth is, Shumpert going down is good if it gives Channing Frye more of an opportunity to play. One of the things that's really interesting about the Channing Frye thing is that the defense has been very good with him on the floor. And that's not something that is a certainty with him at all. So I'm surprised, but 7-foot length doesn't hurt you. And he's playing smart team defense, and he's not just throwing up a lot of shots. He's seemingly fitting into the second unit, and he's got veteran smarts, and that in limited minutes, without too much exposure, without having to be a one-on-one with guys, as far as defensively having to move his feet too much, being the one big guy in a smaller lineup is working for him and for us. But 10 deep. And so Osman is now going to be number 10 instead of Shumpert. And if I never see Shumpert again, I'm not going to complain. The Cavaliers have invested a fair amount of money in him, but maybe Dan Gilbert's upset about it. I'm not. The other thing that's happening with the Cavaliers is the simplification of their defensive structure, which is a real kind of an eye poke to Mike Longobardi, who obviously tried to institute a defensive scheme that nobody understood. And now, since they've gone back to playing basic, vanilla defense, it isn't that they're playing great, but they're playing in spurts like they need to. Case in point, you give up 67 points last night to a team that should never score 67 points, the Atlanta Hawks, who were 4-17. They were 4-16 going into the game. But 67 points in the first half of the game. But they held them to 45 points in the second half. And therein lies the way that the Cavaliers win with the three-point shot. And they hit about, 15 of those, 16 of those last night. And that is how the recipe of victory is. You find stretches where you hold the opposition, you convert threes on the other end of the floor. This is how the Cavaliers won in previous years. And it seems to be falling kind of back into place. The thing that's different this year is that the second unit is cohesive. They are sharing the basketball and playing movement half-court basketball, and it's really fun to watch. Dwayne Wade, who is not a point guard by trade, is playing the backup point, and what he is doing is he's converting mismatches against backup point guards, and it's really interesting to watch D. Wade back his man down in the paint. He's posting a lot, And it isn't just perimeter shooting for him. Although I will say this. Hi, Amsterdam. How you doing? The D Wade's outside shot is gaining a little bit of rhythm too, even knocking down some threes, because he seems to be, at least, how would I put it? His body is getting acclimated to playing the minutes, and his role is defined. And he is the leader of that second unit. When you need points, D Wade is going to back somebody down and get you points or get to the free throw line. He's going to use those long arms to slap balls away, knock down passes in the passing lane, to block shots, to do the things that he has done his entire career. And he can be on the floor in the fourth quarter in the pivotal moments with LeBron and back cut to the basket and get some layups with LeBron's capacity to throw passes. So with all things said and done, it's great watching Korver get opportunities running a motion half-court offense where he runs from hither to yon, and it is a great. Hi, Bronk, how you doing? It's great to watch. They're sharing the ball. Guys are getting open looks from behind the three-point line and playing smart positional defense, not taking any chances, staying in front of men as best we could. Now, you notice that the disaster last night was once again Calderon, who could not stay in front of Schroeder to save his soul. But what was more interesting is that the Eastern Conference Player of the Month, LeBron James, the 851st time in his career that he's gotten that, LeBron shut down Schroeder. That was the end of him. And there weren't the blow-bys because he could stay further distance away from him with the extra height and length. Schroeder is not a guy who is a jump shooter. He is a set shooter from the three-point line, and he gets you, he works his way around you by getting his hips around you and getting into the paint. He can come off a screen and he can shoot a jump shot, but if you force him to do that, then you've done what you need to do, because Schroeder's not a great outside shooter, but he is a good finisher around the rim. The one layup that he made against LeBron was a phenomenal ball high off the backboard, but for the rest of the time, the LeBron block, I mean, it was like revisiting the Andre Iguodala thing. Get up there and trap that sucker against the backboard. I mean, it is nothing short of amazing to me. And it's what I say about the Cavaliers all the time. And it's the thing that I never say about the Browns is you can't afford to miss a game. You can't afford to, because you're going to see something that your eyes can't believe. And with LeBron James, it's either a 32-foot three-point shot, an amazing fadeaway, an incredible slam dunk, or chase down blocks, or incredible block shots, or steals at midcourt that result in dunks, incredible no-look passes, passes from one corner to another using side spin. The things that I've seen this guy do, unbelievable, just unbelievable. And I'm sorry for repeating this, but I remind everybody, nobody in his 15th year has ever done what this guy's doing. He is the greatest basketball player of all time. He is greater than Michael Jordan. He is the greatest in our lifetime. He is the greatest that I will ever see. There are lots of guys who are on the horizon to be NBA stars, but there is none of them who will even nearly approach what LeBron James has accomplished. You know, the guys that I'm seeing around the league who impress the hell out of me, guys like Embiid for the 76ers, you know, I see that Hakeem Olajuwon kind of comparison. I see that. I mean, Embiid has range. He's got the fadeaway. He's strong. He can get into the paint. He can follow up shots. He alters and block shots. He's a sensational young player. He's going to be, you know, he and Porzingis sensational young players, but they don't even touch. They don't even touch what LeBron James accomplished earlier in his career, let alone the entirety and the span. We got nothing but time to wait and see how it all turns out. But, Ben Simmons, no, I mean, Ben Simmons is a fine talent. And, he doesn't have any offensive perimeter game that I can see. He doesn't have an ability to create a shot except for running down the lane and finishing with his right hand, even though he's left-handed. It's a peculiar thing. And he made a fool of himself to shoot free throws the other day against I believe it was against the Celtics, or no, maybe it was against the Wizards, but whatever it was, he missed, half of the free throws he took, and he was being hacked like they do DeAndre Jordan. And that's a point guard. A point guard cannot make 50% of his free throws. That's just not acceptable. And I don't know what was going on, but he got 29 free throws in that game, 29. And I think he made 15 or 16 of them. And it just became a hack-a-ben. And it was a peculiar thing to watch. But he's a good young talent. He tries to force passes too much. He tries for the fancy pass more than the constructive nuts and bolts pass. All these guys grew up in, highlight generation where they're trying to create highlights, and, he needs to create a separation shot, a perimeter shot, a fadeaway shot. He needs to find spots on the floor and learn how to do that. Lonzo Ball is just, shake my big cow head at that. I'm not overly thrilled with that. And he's got to create a shot. He's got to learn how to shoot and get rid of the ball quicker, because honestly, it takes him too long. But I watched LeBron James in 15 years into the league, and he's still doing this. It is nothing short of remarkable to me. So all things said and done, pretty remarkable. LeBron says LeBron is on par with Pele, Babe Ruth, and Gretzky as an iconic sports figure. Yeah, the unfortunate thing is that today, in today's world, he's being vilified by the press because he plays in Cleveland. And now I think he's going to get all of his props when he's done playing, but nobody is willing to concede the fact that he's better than Jordan, and he's clearly better than Jordan. I know Jordan's tenacity, but did you see LeBron playing defense, moving his feet against Schroeder? Schroeder is one of the 3 fastest point guards in the NBA, and LeBron was sealing him off. Unbelievable. I mean, the combination, and it isn't just now the size and athleticism. It's the durability. It's the Jim Brown thing. It's like Jim Brown ran over people, and he was the slowest man in the league to get up, but he got up every time and mowed the guy down the next time. It was something to watch. I just am wowed every time I watch. It's like I see something from him, and every time he's going to shoot that 3 from the top of the key, I'm thinking, today's the day that shot's going to go wonky on him, and he's not going to be able to make them for the rest of the year, because LeBron has never been a big 3-point shooter. But damn, he's making them. I mean, they're laying off him, and he's just draining them, and he looks comfortable doing it. It is really something to behold how he has improved himself over the course of his career. With that all said and done, I'm just picking and choosing. I guess Dan Otero signed a 1-year deal with the Indians to come back, and nothing wrong with that. Having a ground ball pitcher isn't the worst thing in the world if you are the Cleveland Indians. You got other decisions that are going to be coming up, and who you keep and who you don't keep as far as free agency is concerned. LeBron James has mentioned, named the Eastern Conference Player of the Month for games in October and November. Nobody could come close. The statistics on this are absolutely crazy. 28 points on 58.3% shooting, 42.5 from three-point range, to go with 8.5 assists and 8 rebounds. It's just, and it's like, don't look now, Kyrie Irving, but 3.5 behind you. And you can hear the footsteps. I just, and all credit due to Brad Stevens and the Boston Celtics. They've been playing wonderful basketball, but this thing ain't over by a long shot. And it will be interesting to see as these two teams continue to go move along, as Boston's young core gets more experience and more comfort in playing. And the Cavaliers get more comfortable playing the minutes that they play by using more players off their bench. It'll be interesting to see the youth and aggression of the Celtics and their defense versus the sheer population of the Cavaliers roster, and whether our second unit can gain ground on their second unit, all of that good stuff. It's going to be fun to watch. And it's going to, and tell me that I'm wrong about this. If you're the NBA, regardless of how the last 3 years have wound up with the Cavaliers in the finals, can't you see the perfect script? Can't you see a game 7 between the Cavaliers and the Boston Celtics? And in Boston, game 7, with the game on the line, with the Cavaliers up 1 and 1 possession left, with LeBron James coming out to guard Kyrie Irving, you're telling me that the world wouldn't pay millions and millions of dollars to see this? That the whole Eastern Conference would come down to 1 possession, and that it would be mano a mano between the teacher and the taught, between the king and the kid's opportunity to usurp the crown of the king. Are you kidding me? That is the script of all scripts. That's the WWE script that everybody would dream of seeing. And who would come on top? Would Irving make the incredible shot, get over the emotional hurdle, and then forever be transformed? Or would LeBron block the shot, steal the ball, or pressure and rattle him into missing the shot? And would Kyrie have to go an entire offseason having to simmer in that stew? Interesting. That's the way I would love to see the season end. One way or the other, like, boy, that would be like getting your money's worth. All right. If there's Jimbo Fisher is leaving Florida State, we knew that was going to happen, and he's going to Texas A&M, and I'm not sure that's a good place to be. But be that as it may, that's just the first of a flood of college coaching changes in the football college football factory. Not that I really have any damn care about that, but still, Florida State paid a heavy price for Fisher. And now the question is whether Fisher fruit in more than just the state of Florida. I guess everyone's going to find out. The Moohead Pick'em League moves on, trudges on into week 12 with the second coming of Dwayne Wade at 123. No, the second coming of Dwayne Bowe. There's a big difference between Dwayne Wade and Dwayne Bowe because one can catch the ball. Never mind. Lance at number 2 with 120. Pure Rage hanging in there at 118. And then here I am at 115. I'm all the way 8 behind now. And it's like life isn't worth living for me in the Pick'em League. But I continue to pick the games so you can ignore what I do and do what you need to do. The second coming of Dwayne Bowe has been at the top, and nobody's been able to usurp him. You never know. He could be coming up on the virtual coffee mug victory of his lifetime. You never know. Let's pick the games, and I'm going to do this quickly because, well, it's all it's worth. Minnesota at Atlanta. Yes, I'm going with Atlanta just to piss the fat kid from Minnesota off. I know, it's not nice. Minnesota's been great this year. That's the only thing Tony has to cheer about because there's nothing else in Minnesota to cheer about except ice fishing. But I'm saying Atlanta wins at home. But don't worry, Tony. Don't worry. Because whenever I pick Atlanta to win, they lose. Next is New England at Buffalo. And, you know, hey, Tyrod Taylor's back. And, hey, I don't give a fuck. The bottom line is that New England is going to beat Buffalo because Buffalo is still Buffalo. And why in the world you would have benched Tyrod Taylor to play somebody who that was the worst coaching decision that cost them an important win. New England over Buffalo, and it won't be difficult. Somebody has to win between San Francisco and Chicago, and the game's being played in Chicago. How do you handle something like this? How do you handle a hungry man? The man handlers. Now I'm singing old commercial jingles. I can't pitch Mitch Trubisky to win anything, really, except against San Francisco at home on a cold day in Chicago. And I'm picking the Bears because San Francisco blows and because Chicago might get defensive stops and turnovers. Next, we have Tampa, and they're going to Green Bay. There's only one Bay that matters, and it ain't Tampa Bay this year. Green Bay wins in the frozen tundra. We got Houston at Tennessee. I'm going with Tennessee because I don't know. These two teams are always like, I get them confused because one used to be and one now is in Houston, and so it goes. Tennessee over Houston. Denver at Miami. Boy, what a fall from grace for Denver, don't you think? And for me to be picking Miami, wow. I guess things have gotten better, but I like Adam Gase better as a coach anyway. And Denver, John Elway is still there, and he's still getting flies caught in his windpipe. Let's go with Miami. Next, Kansas City at the New York Jets. Kansas City, one of the great implosion stories of this season. The New York Jets, I don't know. They're just an implosion period. Kansas City will win, but I've lost some ground picking Kansas City to win recently. But I just don't think they can lose to the Jets. Indianapolis at Jacksonville. Indianapolis is adrift. They got an owner who's a moron, a star quarterback who is seeking miracle cures in Europe, and they've got to play at Jacksonville. Jacksonville wins. Detroit at Baltimore. Detroit is one of those teams that is just so damn hard to figure out. The one thing that's certain is they're not going to make the playoffs, and they will play a good game 1 out of every 3 games. Will it be against Baltimore? No, I'm picking Baltimore to beat Detroit. Next, we have the New York Giants at Oakland. The fare thee well, okay? It's gone. Eli Manning has been replaced. And can you believe the Giants are taking shit for the way they did it? But, you know, Eli Manning couldn't get anything done. Oakland will beat the New York Giants, and I don't care who's starting at quarterback for the Giants. You know, when Giants fans go, oh, God, isn't that amazing? Geno Smith. Finally, it's like, if you're waiting for Geno Smith, there's something fucking wrong with you. Next, Carolina at New Orleans. 2 Southern teams. Carolina's been a disappointment. New Orleans will win in New Orleans. Next, we have Arizona, the home team, with the Rams coming to town. Arizona, I don't know. It used to be you could figure them out because they had a good defense, but now all that's left to them is watching Carlos Dansby erode in his old age. I'm going with the Rams over the Arizona Cardinals because, well, everyone else says so. Next, we have Philadelphia at Seattle. Seattle is notoriously the hardest stadium to win in, and Seattle's not doing very well this year. Talking about another franchise that things have kind of turned negative for. And boy, you want to talk about being on a roll. Carson Wentz and the Eagles, whoa, at 10-1, it's been a hell of a ride. I'm going to ride with Philadelphia and say they beat Seattle, but don't be surprised, folks, if Seattle comes up with a difficult game plan for Carson Wentz in a stadium that, if it is sold out, can be a very hard place to play. Second to last, we have Cincinnati at home against Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh will win because Cincinnati blows. Put specifically, Pittsburgh 30, Cincinnati 17, Philadelphia 27, Seattle 21, which leads us to the Cleveland Browns going to Los Angeles to play the Chargers. There's no chance in hell that the Browns are going to the West Coast to beat the Chargers. It just ain't going to happen, folks. I know you want it to happen, but it isn't going to happen. The good news is you can watch me go through hell doing this whole thing. You know, at halftime and post game. That's the good news in all of this. I'll be doing a halftime and post-game show, in other words, and that's good news, because if you want comic relief, that's a good way to get it. So what do I think the final score of this game is going to be? Doesn't really matter. I mean, I think the Browns are going to lose 27 to 10. That sounds about right to me. And it won't be a game, and Hugh will be up there talking about, we've got to make less mistakes and yada, 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 yada. And don't be surprised if after the game, Josh Gordon is drinking. Don't be surprised. At any rate, that's what I have for you today. And I've got things that I have to do here around the house. And there's no Cavaliers game tonight. So that means that I'll just be probably watching a movie or something. Thanks a lot for tuning into this edition of Moohead Radio. Back again Sunday with you. That's going to be a late afternoon game, so Mr. Moohead will be hanging around, and I'll see you at the half and after the game, and we'll take this ride to 0-16 together. Take care. Have yourself a good weekend, and I'll see you Sunday. Hasta la vista, Pastor Heads. Good night.